Let's wait like a minute and then we'll get started. All right, should we get started? Okay, well, hello everyone. I see some familiar faces here, but hi, welcome to SARC. And today we're going to present how to network, especially during this remote setting. And with our special guest, Bryan Muñoz. Thank you for coming and speaking to us about networking. Yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, and then present. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Koyuki. Do the other peer consultants want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm another peer consultant. My name's Chloe.
Hi, my name is Sammy, and I'm also a SARC peer consultant.
And my name is Morgan, and I am also a SARC peer consultant. So first, we're going to start off with just some basic information background on what is networking. And networking is going to be the interaction of people exchanging information and cultivating productive relationships, especially to further one's career. So it's based on the idea that building relationships is mutually beneficial. And when you're establishing these relationships, these people can often become your friends and a community of colleagues as you move through your career that you're continuously building on. And they may be able to help you advance your career just as much as you're able to help them advance theirs. So like I said, it's just a mutually beneficial relationship that's going to be beneficial to your prolonged success in whatever field that you're in moving forward throughout your life. Building connections is always going to be important to maintain that. Go to the next slide.
All right, so let's talk about the myths about networking that's preventing you. Some that are preventing you from networking. So we are limited by onlys, right? It's only useful for outgoing and extroverts. Only done in formal settings. It feels awkward, perhaps awkward and forced. Only effective for those with clear career goals, and only for employment and non-academic aspirations, which they're all myths. They're not true. It could be useful for introverts or shy people. It could be done in a casual setting. So yeah. And then the next slide. So sorry. Okay. All right. So the importance of networking. So you can seek career opportunities, and you can also pursue self-refinement according to a study, people who are more outgoing towards networking, more optimistic about networking, excited about the opportunities that they're getting out of networking, they're more likely to succeed in their careers and their jobs. And you can also gain some gratitude and confidence in your skills. You can also create new relationships. You can make connections with potential career mentors, or create new friends with shared interests. You can stay on pulse with industry trends and learn nuances and gain insight within a specific industry. So that's more of an educational lens. All right, next slide.
And so I'm sure everyone's wondering, how exactly do we network? And so we've broken it down into 3 key things to take into consideration. So first, you can already start out by reaching out to people who you already know. So this can include your friends and family, your colleagues, your classmates, and even your professors, just anyone you've already established a connection with. That is essentially your network. And when it comes to expanding it, you can attend events to meet new people. So if you're involved in any clubs or any extracurriculars, attending those meetings and really putting yourself out there to meet new people, even just going to academic and professional conferences, association meetings, lectures, and alumni events. And of course, you're not just restricted to these, but this is just a helpful start to kind of get your foot out the door. And while you're making new connections, it's important to make them as memorable as possible. And you can do this by having just natural and organic conversations, because it's pretty obvious when you approach someone and clearly trying to get something out of them. And so it's a lot more mutually beneficial just to kind of establish that like fun and organic relationship with one another. And of course, to stay in touch. It's something pretty simple, whether it's just making sure that you're sending a little message every once in a while or engaging with their posts if you've connected with them on any platform, just as long as you just don't introduce each other, speak for 2 minutes and never speak again, because the most important thing is to just establish that connection, but also keep it going and maintaining it to be as useful as possible. And so we've suggested the following 3 virtual networking platforms, since it's pretty difficult to network in person, especially with school being in more of like a hybrid setting. And so the most common one I'm sure everyone has probably heard of already is LinkedIn. And on this platform, you're able to join student, university, or even industry related groups and make connections through there, as well as even just connecting with your employers or your classmates or even other colleagues. And then next we have Anteater Network. So this is a really helpful resource that I think not many people know about. And you're actually able to connect with a lot of UCI alum on here from a variety of different fields. And you have the ability to video chat with them, schedule a 10-minute phone call, or even just text them and ask questions, or even any just establishing connections in general. I personally have used this myself to ask more about consulting, because I was curious about what that was like. And I was able to schedule a 10-minute video chat with one of the UCI alum and learn a lot from there, while also establishing a network itself. And of course, everyone who's signed up on there are more than willing to help you. So you can even seek out mentorship or even get any questions that you may have unanswered by directly asking them. And a more informal platform or platforms would be social media. So this could be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And this is just a good way for you to even maintain contact with the networks you've already established in a little more informal way, and kind of establishing that less formal relationship with one another. But again, you're not just restricted to just these, but of course, you're more than welcome to expand. But this is just a good starter point when it comes to virtually networking.
So we're going to move into the next portion of our presentation, and that's going to be a Q&A with Bryan Muñoz, who is our panelist for today. And Bryan is a program manager for the Master of Data Science at the UCI Donald Brent School of Information and Computer Science. He has 7 years of professional working experience in program management, marketing, academic and career advising, and is currently an instructor for the UCI Division of Continuing Education. He holds a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology and is a UCI alum. I know Bryan personally, and he's been a huge influence on me and great mentor. He was my supervisor at my current job. He used to be at SMP at the business school, but now he's over with the data science folks. So he left us, but I still obviously adore Bryan, and he's been awesome and so helpful to me. So yeah, so we're going to be asking him some questions about virtual networking. And our first question is going to be, Bryan, what is something that you wish you knew about networking as an undergrad?
Thank you for that introduction, Morgan. I appreciate it. One of the things that I wish I knew early on in undergrad is the importance of networking, especially right off the bat as a freshman here at UCI. I did not make any connections here at UCI. I was very much an introvert and didn't understand the importance of connections. I thought just doing my coursework would be sufficient in getting a job post-graduation. And as I hit my senior year, I found myself not having a lot of opportunities open up to me. And I was fortunate enough that I got a lot of advice from my mentor and personal friend, who's also an academic counselor here at UCI. She encouraged me to go out there and make connections. But she inevitably became the biggest connection because she gave me my start in my career in higher education. Little did I know that me connecting with her my freshman year and choosing her to be my advisor, even though I didn't have to go to her as I was a different major, and still relying on her really made a difference in my career. So start early. Really, it doesn't matter who it is. You never know who or when you're going to meet another person that's crossed your path in your life that can be beneficial in the long term. So start early. I think that would be the biggest advice.
Thank you for the response to that question. Our next question is going to be, as a big advocate of diversity, how can networking influence diversity and inclusion in the workforce?
I think this has been a relatively challenging one, even in a non-virtual environment. But I think the virtual environment has promoted more diversity and more equality in terms of advocating for marginalized groups. So to give you an example and to put it more concretely, I work for the Master of Data Science here at UC Irvine, and one of the challenges that comes up is, women in tech. There's a disproportion of men in tech and not enough women representation in the field, specifically data science. In data science, there's even less. So promoting that, empowering women to join the field is very tough. And so one of the things that I've been focusing on for this past year is how to promote that, how to build pipelines within undergraduate universities to get them into our program while making it a very welcoming environment, right? Tech can be very hostile and not welcoming. So how can we address these things? So through networking, we put a call out to a bunch of people who would be interested in becoming mentors for a program. So we started an initiative called Women in Data Science Initiative through my master's program, where we're encountering female practitioners in the field of data science and in tech and bringing them to mentor our female students within the program while educating our male students on microaggressions, understanding how to address women in the workplace, understanding their own biases, and also educating us on just generally a broad range of diversity topics. So through networking, we made this call out, and I met a lot of incredible women who are pioneers in the field and who are making a big difference. But the biggest one came from a relationship that developed because I met some of these people. One of these professionals referred me to one of the co-founders of Girls in Tech San Francisco, and they're hosting a hackathon this weekend. And now we're sponsoring them and helping them. So through the networking, you are able to have a bigger platform and are able to connect people with the resources that they need. So now not only are we providing them a bigger platform by attaching our brand, our UCI brand, our MDS brand with Girls in Tech San Francisco, but that's just elevating the message of, hey, we care about this topic. We want to make sure that we make a difference. This is how we're doing it, and this is how we're contributing. And it's similar to a lot of the other topics that we're currently facing right now: Black Lives Matter, the support of LGBTQI and other marginalized groups, and just giving them the platform. Obviously, you can't spread yourself too thin with all the different initiatives, but doing a really good job in solidifying and setting the foundations for one, and then you can move on to other ones and really propel them forward, which is how that networking has really supported these initiatives. Hope that answers the question. I think it does, but.
That definitely answered the question. And just to respond a little bit to that, I had a conversation with Bryan like two months ago, and I was asking questions about like data science and also thinking about business analytics and everything. And I think that's kind of like our conversation is like an example of networking, because like successful networking, because he actually like kind of encouraged me to look into more data science programs. And it's something that I actually am considering like applying to programs in the future now. So he told me about this. I think you kind of gave me like a brief synopsis of what you just talked about a couple months ago. And I really was drawn to everything that you guys are working on now, and like your like how you're trying to uplift women in STEM and everything in tech, especially in data science. It definitely had an effect on me, and it's always in the back of my mind now. So
yeah, and I think you're touching on a very good point, and I don't mean to interrupt you and segue too much, but I think what you're saying is extremely important, and it's just having a conversation. Networking doesn't have to be this daunting task where you're like, oh, I have to reach out to this person because they know XYZ. Just have a conversation with them and get to know them. Morgan and I have been connected for almost 3 years, since her entire time here at UCI, and I've seen her grow and develop. And we've had conversations on and off as her supervisor and as her non-supervisor as well. And just seeing her growth and development, I have a vested interest in Morgan. So whenever she wants or needs something, I'm more than willing to go out of my way to try and help her develop as a professional, so that I can see her succeed. Because I don't know, maybe Morgan one day will become CMO of a large corporation, and I may need a capstone partner. And Morgan decides like, hey, Bryan, like I really loved my experience at UCI. Can you be a capstone partner for us, right? And ultimately, just be kind. I think that is one of the biggest attributes when it comes to networking too, is be kind and courteous. It speaks volumes to you and your character, to just being kind to other people.
I agree. I think someone on another slide made the important point of just like being able to have like genuine conversations with people. And like I've learned that networking really is about just talking and getting to know people, and just like taking the pressure off of yourself and just kind of letting yourself talk to someone like you're just trying to make a new friend. That's kind of how I approach it. So yeah, we can go to the last question. The last question is, how has the pandemic forced virtual environment changed networking? And to follow up, what do you think the pros of virtual networking are?
going to be honest. I think it's been tough. You know, pre-pandemic, I was able to invite people to lunch, you know, and have these type of conversations. You know, like I can email Morgan and be like, hey, let's go have lunch. You know, I want to talk about XYZ, and you know, my treat, you know, and we'll just talk and engage, and we'll develop the conversations as it goes. I think with the virtual environment, everybody's just so tired of being on Zoom. You know, you have that Zoom fatigue. You also have, you know, blockers where, you know, unintentionally or intentionally, you have your camera off. You're exhausted from attending lectures. You're just hearing somebody in a little box. So it adds to that fatigue. I think it's been especially difficult with LinkedIn as well, because I would be able to go to events like conference events and be able to make the connections that I need in order to develop my program. With LinkedIn, it's been a little bit more difficult because now it's pushed the conversation to more of a cold emailing and trying to reach out to that person and hoping that they see it, especially if they have thousands and thousands of followers. So I think in that sense, it's made it more difficult for networking, but I think it also made it a little bit easier to propel your own brand as an individual and propel the initiatives that you care about. So giving voice to that, and then people engage with you based on that content. So, you know, I think Sammy said, you know, connecting with the content and connecting with the information that people post is extremely important, because it shows you care. It shows that you're interested in what the person or people are talking about, and it makes you an affiliate to that group. So to that extent, I joined a group on LinkedIn called Dedicated Circle, which is a huge like group now of almost 1,000 data science professionals across the globe. And we started this group, or I should say they started this group, and you know, I was invited into it to talk about data science and to talk about these initiatives. And it was because I post content on data science, what we're doing, what you know, is exciting to us, how we're trying to make a difference in here at UCI and in people's careers. Because ultimately what we're doing as a program is we want to make sure that you come into the program, you're happy, you develop your skill set, but you leave with long-term relationships and good partnerships that are going to help you succeed. So just posting these contents has made it easier for me to connect with the right people. To give you a more concrete example, in searching for capstone partners, you often try to take a swing at the big names, right? Facebook, Meta, now Amazon, Google, and whatnot. And I've certainly made traction with a lot of those companies, but bringing them into the fold is very difficult because they have different vested interests. Not only that, as an organization, we're very rigid in how we handle contracts. So it adds another layer, but it opens opportunities with a lot of other organizations. I never knew that McKinsey and Company was interested in working with UCI until I met with them through a networking on LinkedIn. And they said, hey, we've been trying to break into UCI for such a long time, but you know, we just never got a connection there. And to me, I thought that was crazy because the McKinsey and Company generally hires from the Ivy Leagues, but they have offices here. And so they're trying to develop their undergraduate pipeline. I never knew. And so we connected through there. I connected with another company who also said the same thing. And so it's just, you know, putting the messages out there, sharing what you're interested in, and being very intentional about what you post, and not just boasting about all of your successes, but trying to contribute to the community as well. Like, hey, how can I help you? How can I assist you or add value to what it is that you're passionate about? And again, being kind. I think that goes a very long way in networking.
Thank you, Bryan. I definitely want to take your advice on that and engaging more on LinkedIn. That's been one of my, it's on my list of things that I need to like work on more. It's something I want to get more comfortable with for sure, because I always see you interacting on LinkedIn, and I'm like, I see all my other friends too interacting, and like I just see like it's definitely helping them. Like I definitely see
Yeah.
the direct benefits of everything that you're talking about. Like
It's hard, being on LinkedIn takes time, energy, and bandwidth, and it's just like any other social media. It does take like an emotional toll on you, especially when LinkedIn is a very professional centric platform, but you are still, at least in my network, there's still a lot of topics that are being shared that are very triggering for me and for other people. So you're getting into very heavy conversations, and when you engage, you understand that this is a very public platform, and so you have to be very respectful in how you approach people. Especially if you disagree, understand how you're going to respond and how you're going to maintain that balance of professionalism. But it is taxing, and so definitely comment, share, like, react, keep it at that, and that helps with your engagement. But the biggest drawn to your profile and how the algorithm works is commenting and starting conversations. If you do that, it ranks your profile at a much higher level, which gives you much more exposure. I think from when I started at the business school and I started understanding the importance of LinkedIn, I was at like 200 connections. Now I'm like close to 3,000 connections, just in a short time span, because now more and more people are connecting with me and connecting with our organization and saying like, wow, like you're doing such great things at UC Irvine, like how can I get involved? And then resharing whatever opportunities are available to students or to other colleagues. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that gives me hope.
yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, I want to get to 3,000 one day. So that's, yeah.
I mean, I think another tidbit is staying up to date with the algorithm for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is pretty transparent, and you have companies like HubSpot and Hootsuite who dissect the LinkedIn algorithm as much as possible and make it into like a bite-sized article that everybody can read and enjoy. And it tells you very clearly what you need to do in order to boost the ranking of your own profile on LinkedIn. And right now, currently in its iteration in Q4 of 2021, it's commenting and sharing. Surprisingly, video does nothing for your profile. Actually, photos weigh more heavily in the LinkedIn algorithm than videos. You would think it was the other way around because of TikTok and Instagram, but LinkedIn is going in a different direction. We'll see if they decide to change their algorithm in 2022, but currently that's the status quo.
That's good information to know. Yeah, I would have, I would have thought videos too, but that's good that, I mean, I guess pictures do kind of leave a lasting, it's a quick look, like you see it and you're kind of perceiving it as it is, other than like a video, you kind of have to watch the whole thing to understand what it's about. So that makes sense. But does anyone have any questions, follow-up questions for Bryan, or just in general that they wanted to get out before we move to the next segment?
Actually, I have one question, if I may ask. Bryan, thank you so much. I think I learned so much within this short amount of time. But I was wondering, we were talking about maintaining like connections, but how can we do that in a virtual environment where there's this, like you said, there's this overload of virtual reality-ness. I think for me, it's hard to maintain a connection even if posting content will be helpful. But yeah, any tips on that?
This one has been a difficult one, even for myself to crack, just because we all are going through our emotional struggles through this pandemic and through this emotional fatigue. My advice would probably is to understand the boundaries of where everybody wants to connect and not to be too pushy on, like, hey, let's connect virtually, or let's do, FaceTime or a Zoom, and putting the ball on the recipient's court. And weighing on the people that you truly want to connect with and make a connection, as opposed to like, hey, I need to connect with you because, I think I have a great idea. I like to space it out, and maybe I can give you a more concrete answer by giving you an example. So give me a second. Perfect. So this quarter we had an issue with seeking out instructors for our artificial intelligence class. And so I was tasked with looking for artificial intelligence experts across the country and across the globe, really, to see if they would be interested in coming to teach our class. So making those connections was extremely difficult at first because I have no idea about artificial intelligence. I know the topic, and I can probably give you a 1 minute speech on what it is at its core. But aside from that, so with that being said, I started making the connections and started talking to people, and I relied heavily on this guy named Isaac, and he's a foremost expert in artificial intelligence here in Southern California. He was actually involved with the catching of the Golden Gate serial killer here in California, and he partnered up with the FBI. And it was really hard because I always wanted to connect with him and get to know more about his story. But he has, wife, 3 kids, and he has a very successful business in artificial intelligence and consulting. So he's extremely busy. And one of the ways that I've stayed connected with him throughout this entire quarter and getting him to teach our course is by asking him about his family. I mean, that's really how I have maintained that connection and try to make it personal. So I think that's the key, is making it personal in the virtual environment and getting to know a person that deep, where you can say like, hey, Isaac, like, how are your kids? Or, how's business going? And then just leaving it at that and leaving it up to them to respond, being respectful and not being too pushy. So I think that would probably be the key. It's still a fine line, like I said. You got to go with the ebb and flow right now. There's not a surefire formula, but that's what's worked for me so far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Are there any more questions before we move to the scenarios? Give it a second. Okay, well, if anyone has any questions, you can just put it in the chat. But we're going to move to 2 scenarios that we have for networking that Chloe's going to be leading. So Chloe will introduce that.
Okay, hi everyone. So we're going to be heading into breakout rooms right now, and I'm just quickly making those as we speak, but we're going to be talking about a few scenarios, and we will be sure to put this in the chat as well. But yeah, we're going to move everyone to breakout rooms right now so we can quickly just kind of go over the scenarios that we have for you guys today, and then just let me know if there are any issues like getting into your breakout rooms. Well, everyone should be assigned. I'm just waiting on the other room now.
They must be having a conversation. No one wants to leave.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, that is a good thing. Because are we in a breakout room right now? We're not, right? Okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, wait, just look.
All right. Brian was in the middle of talking, but we had to leave the breakout room. But email on Monday. I remember that. Well, yeah. Well, thank you. So this is the end of our event. Thank you so much for coming, and especially to Brian. Thank you for taking your time and effort to come speak about networking. Definitely, you have brought up some points that were never really brought up until like this whole pandemic that forced us to be remote. So yeah, thank you so much. And Brian, you just posted a LinkedIn. Let's remember to not just click the connect button, but also have a genuine conversation with each other. So yeah, thank you for coming to our SARC meeting, and there'll be more. Of course, you can go to our website to book a consultation with us. And also there'll be other more amazing and interesting events related to career, grad school, or research opportunities, even leadership. Who knows? I did an event about how to successfully fail. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good rest of your day.